Warning: the following contains explicit language and subject matter that may not be suitable for younger listeners, church folk, and people who enjoy kale smoothies.
You ready, Vigo? Okay. So, that's it. All right. Welcome back to A Pod Amongst Men. I'm your host, Steve B. This is Coffee Break Conversations for the 21st Century. I'm here with my man, Artie Dell. You are a ex-cop, stand-up comedian extraordinaire.
I'm not sure if I can be called a comedian yet, but
Well,
I'm giving it the old college try.
well, so you and I just met for the first time in person tonight. So why don't you give the listeners a little bit of your background, like where you from, how you grew up, that kind of thing, like brass tacks.
Yeah, I grew up in Jersey City, born and raised in
What
Jersey
part?
City, the Marion section.
Okay,
Yeah,
I work in Jersey City every day.
that's by the old Charlotte Circle. It's not a circle anymore, where the Wilson Carpet guy is.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. That's where I grew up. But
Okay.
I grew up in like the crack era Jersey City, as opposed to the Jersey City everybody wants to live in now.
Yeah.
You know, the Jersey City Hoboken area wasn't like that. Mid 80s, early 90s when I was growing up. Even the downtown section. I went to high school downtown Jersey City at St. Peter's Prep, and
Way different back then.
Yeah, we'd have to run from the Grove Street train station to the school so people wouldn't steal your sneakers. You know.
My buddy Terry Monahan, he's a firefighter in Jersey City, and he tells me
Yeah,
stories about that.
I know Terrence.
You know Terry?
Yeah.
Good guy,
I know.
man. We work together.
Yeah, he used to have a bar. His dad had
Yeah.
a bar up in the Heights there. But he's a Heights guy. I know Terrence really well.
He's a funny dude, man.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get him on here, and he won't do it.
Oh no,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a Marine, fireman,
Yeah.
construction, I guess now too.
Yeah, he's an electrician. He's got some good fucking stories, man. And he's one of those guys, but he's got like that perfect delivery where he'll like get into what he's telling. This fucking guy, he stands up, and he fucking this, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just making, but
That's the Jersey City
the hand
storytelling.
thing. Yeah. Anyway, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no. So that's where I grew up in Jersey City. I'm 40 years old, so growing up for me was like mid 80s to late 90s, pretty much. My parents wound up moving out of Jersey City later on. They now live they live in Myrtle Beach now, but after moving out of Jersey City, they moved to Kearney,
Okay.
which is everybody from Jersey City, like moving on up for Jersey City is Kearney, Lyndhurst, North Arlington,
Yep.
or Nutley.
I had a buddy. He moved out of Lodi, moved into Kearney, and now he's trying to make it out to be like, oh no, this is the place you want to be. You want to be in Kearney.
Yeah.
All right, take it easy.
Yeah, it's all right, I guess.
Shout out to AJ.
It's still Hudson County.
Yeah, and he lives in a nice street. I'll give him that. It's a nice area. But so you became a cop. How did that happen? Was that something you always wanted to do?
I always wanted to be. My whole life, I wanted to be a cop. Growing up in Jersey City, in my neighborhood, they had a cop like on a walking post. His name was Officer George.
Okay.
He still might be on the job. He was a captain with the Jersey City Police Department, but when he first came on the job, he had the walking post in my neighborhood. So he used to walk like 3 to 11 in my neighborhood, and he basically just hung out with the kids. So like he would play wiffle ball with us. He'd be like the official quarterback when we played touch football in the street. And quite honestly, I thought that was the best job ever. I never saw him arrest anyone or do anything detrimental to anybody. And I thought the job of being a cop, if you got put on a walking post, was just to go hang out and play with kids. I was like, when I grow up, I'm gonna be the official quarterback in my neighborhood. Like you have these hopes and dreams of
That's like
of just staying there.
the textbuk definition of community policing.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like
But
the guy on a beat, he knows everybody, knows the neighborhood.
later on, I realized that because later on when I became a cop, I got put on a walking post, and it's absolutely horrible, like on a walking post. So I mean, when you get older, you appreciate it more, or when you're a veteran, because then you're not getting as many calls and there's not much for you to do. But when you first get on and you're like, hey, I'm gonna pull everybody over, I'm gonna lock everybody up, and they're like, no, you're gonna walk these 4 blocks and just walk in a circle for the next 8 hours. So then I realized that he was wasting not wasting, but like he was filling his 8 hours of time by hanging out with us, and quite honestly, it made an impact.
That's always like the stories you hear too, is like when people have, good experiences with police, it's someone they know on a first name basis. It's making that relationship with the community that really goes a long way. So you became a cop. Do you remember when that was, what year, like around what time?
Yeah. Well, before it's all the same pension system, but I worked in the Hudson County Jail for like a year and 3 months.
Okay.
Prior to becoming a police officer. Then I transferred to the Hudson County Sheriff's Department. I was only there for like 7 months, and then I wound up getting hired by the North Bergen Police Department. But I started in 1999.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Before my 20th birthday. So I was 19 years old when I got on the job.
So aside from like what we were just talking about with your walking post, like what were some things that surprised you when you first got on the job that, maybe there were misconceptions about that you thought were going to be different? You know what I mean? Like you said, like, young guys that get on the force and they think, oh, I'm just going to be arresting everybody, pulling everybody over. And then reality sets in and it's something totally different. You know what I mean?
All right. So I'll tell you the story of my first day as a cop, like first day on the street. So I finished the police academy. We graduated in December. December 15th, I graduated the police academy. We come out, we get assigned to like a field training officer. Back then, before Governor Christie changed all like the pension system and paying for your benefits and things like that, there were cops on the job for like 40 years. They just didn't want to stay home. They didn't want to retire. Now everybody, when it's your time to go, everybody checks out and leaves, So when I got on the job, there was like dinosaurs on the job. So they put me with one of these old guys, and so they send us to a call, and I made the mistake of asking him. It was an emergency call. So I'm like, hey, aren't we supposed to put the lights on and head there? He goes, listen, kid, I'm going to teach you something. This was the first time he even spoke to me. So we're riding around together for like an hour, and he still hasn't spoken to me.
Silence.
Yeah, because these old guys, they wouldn't trust you until, months down the road. They had to like test you out and things like that.
I'm going to ask you about that later, but keep going.
Yeah. So he turns to me and he's like, hey, listen, kid, never rush to a job. It'll always be there when you get there. And hopefully somebody else beats you there, because then they have to take the report. And I never felt like the way I recite it, I've said that a million times, as that was my lesson the first day on the job. So like it's an emergency call, and this guy's hoping someone else beats him there so that he doesn't have to take the report. It's not that he didn't want to help. It's just that, hey, if somebody else gets there first, then it's their job. We'll just assist. They'll have to leave the report. Yeah. But you had a bunch of guys driving around with the same mentality. And then you have the young guys that are, I'm trapped in the car for 8 hours with this old guy who's supposed to be, teaching me how to be a cop. And like, you're ready to run and gun. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, listen, we're not doing anything tonight. Like,
that sounds a lot like being an electrician.
Yeah. So, or there was other time you'd come in on a midnight, and when you first get on the job, you sleep all day, you're ready to go for midnights. And then you pull out of the parking lot, and the old guy's like, hey, kid, your eyes tired? I'm like, what? It's 12:05, And then next thing you know, they're just looking for a hiding spot.
Yeah, I noticed that exact same thing with like, I think that's more in like the old days with the union, like electrician stuff. They want to, some of these guys, they want to be on a big job with a lot of men so they can kind of fly under the radar.
Yeah.
So then, an apprentice gets partnered up with them, and you learn all their little tricks, but to be honest, they're kind of teaching you the wrong way. They're teaching you how to hide, how to, look busy.
In police work, we call it skating.
Yeah.
So like a guy will just
skate.
They're just looking to skate the whole time.
But what else? Like, was that the only thing? Like, I know there's that, that passion of youth, and you're full of piss and vinegar. You want to come on, you want to go kick ass, you want to make a difference. And like, what is that like when all of a sudden you realize, like, all right, it's not that. Does it ever feel like it's not that serious? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, for the older guys, they already had their like they're putting you with an older guy that's, I understood it later on, they're already burnt out. So first of all, they don't want you in the car. So, they'd rather drive around by themselves. Now they got to teach you how to do something, and you're basically you're bothering them. And they had their fun already, so then you just had to buy your time and just sit in the car, finish your field training, and then think to yourself, hey, when I get my car, I'm gonna go out there and I'll lock everybody up. But it is a little bit frustrating in the beginning. I'm not sure, it's really not like that anymore, but like it's because policing is totally different from back then. And this is only 20 years ago. It's not like, I'm not talking 40, 50 years ago. 20 years ago, when I got on the job, I don't even think I had a cell phone. So like there was no cell phone cameras out there. You kind of had carte blanche of like doing whatever you wanted all day. And if doing whatever you wanted was driving around hiding or, sleeping behind a building, then that's what you were able to do. But the job is totally different now.
You mentioned before about like the old timers, maybe they don't trust you right away. You kind of got to prove.
Oh yeah, for sure. There was zero trust. Like they had to.
What is it that they don't trust? Like they feel like you're going to rat them out or something?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it was not, and they might not have been doing anything. It's not that they were doing anything wrong. It was just like a matter of, let's wait and see if we can, trust this kid. So they literally they'd shun you or wouldn't talk to you for months.
Yeah, see, we don't get that. Like for us, like with the apprentices, you get ported up and you gotta talk to the guy. I have an apprentice at work, like he's a nice kid, but I'm the kind of guy I like to work alone. So I'm trying to like teach him enough. I'm like, I'm going to teach you what you need to know. You're going to do this. It's going to take you all day. And if you need me, I'll be over on the other side. So he can keep working and he's learning something, but I still get to work by myself. You
mean? Like lay the groundwork for him or whatever. But when I came on, it was either they would make you even write their reports and stuff like that. So like if they were the ones that was supposed to write the report, they'd be like, hey, listen, kid, you're the scribe today. You take all the reports, and then it'd be totally contradictory to what you were told in roll call, but they'd be like, whatever the sergeant told you, you listen to me now. It was almost like you worked for them, but they were the same rank as you, same job and everything.
Yeah, we get the same thing. Like you get partnered with a journeyman as an apprentice, and you got to answer to the journeyman, and then the journeyman talks to the foreman.
Yeah.
So it's always like that chain of command,
Yeah,
what I mean?
Yeah. We have the chain of command too, but
for us it doesn't technically exist. For you guys, it's real.
Yeah, no, it's real. But and that would be the chance that one of these old timers would get to be a boss, would be to boss you around in the car when you were brand new.
You see any wild shit in Jersey City back in those days?
Well, I was a North Bergen cop, so,
that's right.
But I grew up in Jersey City. The reason I became a North Bergen cop is I took the test. I checked off every single box. That's why I started in the jail. Then I went to the sheriff's department. Then I wound up getting hired by the police. At the time, Jersey City had a hiring freeze. There was like some misappropriation of funds or something like that. There was a big hiring freeze, and North Bergen at the time was getting sued by the NAACP, and they had to open up hiring to Jersey City residents. In not it wasn't like an affirmative action type thing. It just was trying to get more minorities by opening up the radius for the like residents they were accepting or whatever. So that's how I got on North Bergen. Then in the meantime, Jersey City wound up calling, but I took the sergeant's test. So I placed really well on the sergeant's test, and I'm like, I'm not leaving to go start all over again. And I wound up staying in North Bergen. My class was 25 cops, and I think there was like probably 10 to 15 that left and went to Jersey City.
Okay.
But I like I said, I stayed just because of the promotional, doing well on the promotional exam.
But did you see anything wild happen to you while you were on the force?
I was never involved in any like shooting or anything like that, but I've seen a ton of like crazy stuff. Car accidents and a dead baby that I got to see every once in a while in my head. Things like that. And one of my cop friends, a big job that I had when I first got promoted was he died on a motorcycle. So he was a North Bergen cop. He was out riding his motorcycle one night. He wound up misjudging switching lanes between cars. He wound up like tapping the back bumper of the car he was trying to cut around. And next thing you know, he wound up going over the handlebars and he wound up passing away.
Jesus.
And it was I was probably a sergeant for like 2 weeks, and so I was on midnights and when this job happened, and I had to handle the whole job. And he was one of my good buddies.
So that's gonna basically bring us into the next topic, which is like the mental health issues. Like, this is something that I know you feel very strongly about. You're way more knowledgeable about it than me. But like, there's a lot of mental health issues that are affecting police that, you know, maybe aren't being addressed, don't get talked about that much. Like, talk about that. Like, what was that like? What kind of talk? Because, you know, that's the thing that we hear about with a lot of times with police, is that you see the worst of shit. Like, when shit goes down, you are the people that we call. So that's got to take a toll on you as a human being. Like, what is that like? Like,
yeah, well, with that job in particular, it was a big deal to me only because like there was no helping him. Like, he was pretty much, he passed away on impact, and there was no helping him. But I went home thinking that we could have done better, or we could have done something to save him. But he died instantly. But like, you have that. My issue too with the job, I was the second guy to arrive on scene there, mm-hmm. and I got to him first, and when I got to him, the way his body was like contorted or whatever, his hand was up. So like, just, it was turned this way. So I was under the assumption he was like reaching for help, but it was just that he was bent and twisted, and I grabbed his hand. And then when I looked at it, he had what I call like holy shit eyes. Like, their eyes get stuck open like that because it's like the last, it's like a shock, but for some reason your face kind of sticks like that. So when I realized he was dead, I almost got like disgusted, and I let go of his hand. And then I felt bad that I did that, mm-hmm. And then I felt like we could have done more. And I remember this happened 2006. So I had 2 kids at the time. My daughter was 3 years old, and my son was like a year and a half old or so. Mm-hmm. And I just remember going home and crying. And even if I just sat around and I thought about it, I'd start crying. But like, you don't do anything about it. There's so many jobs like that you might cry, or you might feel bad, or everybody goes to the bar afterwards. Like,
yeah, that's the big one with cops.
Oh yeah,
stereotypically.
Yeah, so you wind up getting hammered, and nothing gets resolved, and you just hold on to this stuff.
Just suffer in silence.
Yeah, for the longest time.
But how widely do you think that affects cops? Is that just a stereotype, or is that?
No, it's huge. There's been a huge rash of police suicides, especially in the NYPD lately. Mm-hmm. Over the last few months, there was 10 NYPD officers, including there was one really high ranking one. I think he was a chief or something like that committed suicide, and it was all in like a small span of time. And in New Jersey, there's an average of like 12 to 16 cops a year that commit suicide. So I believe the number since the beginning of 2016 in New Jersey of police suicides is nearly 40. And in that same period, there's been, I think, 9 line of duty deaths. And like, line of duty could be car accident.
Yeah, could be any number of
anything.
things.
Like the New Jersey State Police had a lieutenant recently that passed away from 9/11 ailments because he was over there helping and digging out. So that's considered like a line of duty death. So if there was 40 in the last 3 years, if there was 40 cops killed in the street, there'd be a huge outcry, but just recently the Attorney General of New Jersey, he put into effect this New Jersey law enforcement resiliency plan where they're trying to make like an effort to let cops know that it's okay to ask for help. Rather than like you said, suffer in silence.
So what is like within police, like within the men and the women that are actually doing the job? What's that culture like? Is it does it ever feel like you're not able to come out and talk about those kind of issues? Is it kind of shunned? Is it just everybody knows about it but nobody mentions it? Like, what's it like?
The major issue with reporting that you need help as a police officer is, what do you think the first thing they do is?
Send you to a shrink.
Well, no, before that, they take your gun away. So now they take your gun. You're put on desk duty, so it looks like it almost appears to be a punishment, you know. And then you're gonna go to the psych, and there's everybody just thinks like they're gonna lose their job, as opposed to if you were an attorney or you worked as a garbage man or someone in an office in a cubicle all day, you could ask for help all you want. Like, probably you'll go get the help, and it's not going to jeopardize your employment. And a lot of cops, like, they hold tight to that brotherhood, and it's essentially like it's like a cult, to tell you the truth. You know, like,
well, I think that's the problem that a lot of like civilians might have with the culture of policing, is that it's like that, such a tight knit brotherhood that. And guys are afraid to break ranks with it. You know what I mean? To even say anything slightly in opposition to it. And sometimes when you have real issues like that, that's a huge disservice to the people in that culture. You know?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's not as tight as you would think. Like, the old days, it was really tight. Like, you know, shut your mouth and don't say anything. Now, everybody will rat each other out in a second. You know, but I think people. Like, cult-wise, policing becomes your identity, you know, like, so you hold tight to that identity because you think you're nothing else without the badge and gun. Like, you'll hear a lot of people say, hey, take that badge and gun off, I'll show you, you know, whatever. But, like, we really do hold tight to that whole culture and that whole gun badge thing, and just being part of that brotherhood. And people just attach their identity to it too much, I think.
And do you think that has anything to do with, you know, like when we talk about like police accountability, a lot of guys aren't willing to speak out, and, you know, especially like you said, in the age we live in now, there's, you know, camera phones and everything shows up on Facebook at some point. You know, the stuff that we may not have heard about. I mean, like, me as a white guy from the suburbs, like, stuff I might not have heard about 20 years ago is now front page news every time it happens. But it's like, do you think that tight knitness, is that a word? Is that a thing?
Sounds good to me.
But do you think that is related at the same time? You know, like, because sometimes you hear about, you know, maybe some guys speak out, like they saw, you know, think like a Serpico type scenario, like they saw corruption, somebody was, you know, dirty, and you can't speak out about it because you got to fear the retaliation from the other men and women on the job. Is that a thing?
I don't think it's a thing anymore, because everybody, like, with this culture, and like, I think that was a cultural or like generational type deal. I think the new generation is like,
it's fucking
the
baby
new kids,
boomers, man.
Yeah,
fucking baby boomers.
Well, they kept their mouths shut. I think, like, the new you know, millennials and Gen Z, X, whatever they're up to, they're more like. You got cops, like, when I was a boss, and young cops would tell me, hey, I'd go on a job, and I'd be like, hey, take the report for this, take the report for that, and a kid turned to me and was like, Lieutenant, it's not my post. Where, like, that would never happen 20 years prior. Like, that lieutenant would have beat you up, like, on the street, you know. So I think it's a me world. So I think right now with the cops, like, a very small portion might hold tight to the keep your mouth shut, but you put them in a room, they're singing on everybody. It's when you're like, hey, you know, you want to go to jail or you want to go home, which is a classic cop line. But you know, you say you want to go to jail or you want to go home. Next thing you know, they're telling on everybody. Like the Goonies, you know, the scene in the Goonies when he starts when he starts ratting everybody out.
I went to the movie theater.
It's pretty much like that now with the new generation.
I love this kid. Me and my buddy AJ always quote that. Do you remember we were gonna get your teeth fixed?
Yeah.
What did we do? We spent the money on Francis's toupee. Sorry.
So basically, that's basically how the new generation is. Like, hey, I'm not going down for this. You know.
What do you think is like the good balance between those two, you know, opposite ends of the spectrum, between telling on everybody and then keeping your mouth totally shut? You know,
the easiest part is just do your job.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's, you know, rules and regulations, policies and procedures. You follow them, you're not going to get in trouble. And I mean, if you get questioned on something, by oath and everything, you're supposed to tell the truth. So by lying or not speaking or whatever, you wind up jabbing yourself up, even if you had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm. It seems like the simple solution is just
just do your job.
Yeah. Like we know, like, all right. So, like I said before, I have a few friends that are police. I know guys, like, most cops genuinely want to do good. They want to do the right thing. And it's like the few that you actually see on the news, it's like they're giving all these guys such a bad name. And it's like, why is it so difficult for guys to, to follow those procedures? Do you think that that's maybe related to the mental health thing we were talking about, like seeing all this shit on the job? Do you think some guys are like affected by it? And you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
well, a lot of time, like, the thing that kind of gets ingrained in you is the whole thing of, well, I'm going home tonight,
Mm-hmm.
So, or you ever hear the adage, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6,
Mm-hmm.
So the cops, like, on the street, not all cops or whatever, but the whole thing is wanting to go home. Like, I'm not going to wind up being like what happened in Jersey City, recently. Like,
That was rough.
No one wants to be in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of times it's like cops react first.
Mm-hmm.
It could have other other things if it's not like a shooting type scenario. If it's like you said, like police brutality or something that could be
like stuff like that. Like, I feel like those guys,
like the guy could be going through a divorce. The guy, could be getting foreclosed on his house.
A happy person doesn't do shit like that. Like, that's the thing. Like, what's going on? Like, how is there signs like that you could see leading up to those kind of incidents? Like, can you tell when a guy's going through some shit that maybe he's going to end up doing?
You mean the guys that he works with?
Anything,
Everybody,
like maybe you're on the same, in the same unit or whatever. Like,
oh yeah, you definitely know everything that's going on. I mean, if nothing else, cops are crybabies. So,
we're construction work.
I think it's everybody. But when you spend enough time, like, these squads or whatever different police departments call platoons. On my job, it was a squad. Like, you become a family. So you'll have 2 to 3 bosses within the squad. You got 10 to 12 guys or girls in the squad, and you become a little tight-knit family. So hey, this guy's going through a divorce, this guy's kid's sick. Like, I've worked with guys who've had, like, special needs children, or just things on a regular basis that everyone has to deal with. But then you couple it with going on the street, and now you're dealing not only with your problems, but you're dealing with other people's problems day in and day out.
And it just
and
gets
then
compounded.
You have people talking back to you, and like, not that people can't talk back to you, but like it's becoming like almost disrespectful, like where the office isn't respected.
We all know we all know what you mean. People just talking shit.
Yeah. And then, like I said, you might have a friend that dies on the job, whether it be line of duty death, a suicide. We've had guys die of natural cause. A guy gets cancer, and one of my good friends, he died at 37 of, he was a North Bergen detective, and he had stomach cancer, and within 10 months of the diagnosis, he was gone at 37. So you have things like that you're dealing with, and you just add to it other people's problem. And then you start wondering to yourself, like, I would say probably about like 7 years ago. So you get to like about that 10-year mark, and you're like, dude, I honestly didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to be a cop, but you put in all that time, and then you're like halfway through, or a little less than halfway through. You could see the finish line, and you're too far from the start, and you kind of got to finish it out.
Too far to go back.
Yeah, and then you wind up having a family, a house. So you can't just walk away from a job. Like, a lot of other people, a lot of other people can walk away from a job. You can't walk. You're leaving everything out there.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, you're also then taking the risk of you're compounding your the mental anguish that you're going through, and then you wind up, even though you're trying to make it to the finish line, you wind up risking the finish line. You know.
So I know you said that you had your own struggles that you were going through while you were on the force. How did that like manifest itself?
Well, well, as a kid, I was molested as a kid. Like as a young, like my first memory that I have is getting molested as a kid.
Was it by a stranger, a family member?
Well, someone close to the family. So, but it was over like a period of time, like years. It wasn't like an everyday thing, but it was occasional over the course of maybe like, I would say like 5 to 7 years or something,
Jesus.
if I remember, properly. But like my very first memory is of being in a basement and getting molested, and I wrote about it like in my blog, but I could still to this day like picture the basement. I could have the smell in my nose, everything. I may not remember every single time. I remember like a couple different times. If it was like, I remember the very first time, and I remember like a couple bad times that happened. Like it progressively got worse, obviously, over time.
But it imprints itself, especially at that young age.
Yeah, as like that's my first memory of like, and I had to be about 4 years old because at the time we lived in a different house. I lived with my parents in an apartment, and my parents wound up buying a house later on, and it was based on the location, I can assume that I was like about 4 years old or so.
So yeah, how did like
so like I buried that for years and years and years when I and I didn't tell anybody, and then like growing up to when I tell people now, because now I could freely say it. I used to say like I told my mother about it when I was 33. So because I woke up one night having a nightmare. I dealt with a job at work that was kind of similar, and it like sparked up all these different memories and like almost like flashbacks where I forgot. I knew it happened, but like I forgot about it. Like for the longest time, like it was pretty good, but I was like a crazy angry kid too. So like I got into a ton of fight. In Jersey City, it's not too hard to find a fight if you want one.
So I've heard.
But yeah, so I had a million fights. I used to probably be considered kind of a bully, but it was because I was going through all this stuff. And now when I tell people, like I said, I wasn't able to say it without crying for years. When I first said it out loud, to my mother, and I actually did it to her in a text though. I woke up in the middle of the night. I was like, I got to tell you something, rather than pick up the phone and call or wait to see her. And I did it through text. And then when I went to seek therapy, like every time I would speak, like I'd start crying. Now I don't, I'm not, quite honestly, a couple of years ago, if we would have started talking about this, I would have started crying.
Well, that's one of the positives of being able to get that out of you is now you can have the conversation and still, you could maintain your composure. You're fine now, but you're talking about something that had a huge impact on who you are as a person.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But bottling that up, that's what causes so many people like that mental anguish, like you were talking about.
But when I see like people that I grew up with, whether it be grammar school, high school, and then I don't like run around telling everybody, hey, I got. But if we're in like we're engaged in a conversation or they're close to me, and the few friends that I told, they're like, fuck, now I get it, man. People used to, I guess, assume like, dude, stay away from it. This guy's fucking crazy or whatever. But then when they started like finding out, or I started telling people, and I got comfortable with saying it out loud, I've had a few friends like, bro, now I fucking get it, man. And then they just get it.
Yeah, like nowadays, I feel like that kind of stuff people in general are more knowledgeable about. Like, that's like I guess the science in like psychology and everything like that. It's a little more mainstream than maybe, when we were kids. So people can, you see like bullying behavior. Like that's usually a sign there's something going on at home with the kid. It could be anything from like what you're talking about to just parents not paying attention to them. It's not just a kid is a bully born that way. You know what I mean? I mean, I think that probably happens sometimes, but usually there's something else going on. Like there's something causing that at home. And now I feel like people are a little more wary, they're a little more understanding of that. So you can zero in on those situations. So it makes sense. Like you're telling your friends and like, oh,
now everybody. And actually, quite honestly, that even though I'm telling you the story, like it feels good for them to say, now I get it. Like, because I guess they assume like, oh, dude, growing up, this guy was a fucking maniac. He, you know, he's beating everybody up and
it's actually
breaking
easier.
windows and doing all types of
It's easier for your friends to look at it and at the whole picture and say, oh,
I mean, I'm sure it helps that we're older, and then you're like, and then I mean, some people have told me like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not looking for sympathy or whatever, but like when people get it, it actually kind of feels good to me. Tell you the truth. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining that well.
No, I think you're explaining it perfectly.
But I've been told a couple times like, shit, man, now I get it.
Yeah,
man.
well, it's not
and
just
like,
you're not just born a fucked up person. Like something happened, there's a cause for it, and it's like, okay, that I can understand that. I understand how, you know, you maybe why you acted out the way you did, because I'm seeing now the pieces that led up to it.
Yeah.
So it's easier for someone now. It's like, okay, you're not a bad guy. Like, I get it now. You know what I mean? It kind of allows people to accept you for who you are, and they see the whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like my like that's my first memory. My second memory is you remember We Are the World? Like,
yeah.
And I know you said I'm like 5 years older than you, but
I remember.
Yeah, I was in kindergarten at the time. So when they had that the fundraiser thing on TV, and they showed, remember all the kids from Ethiopia with like the giant stomachs and flies on them and stuff.
Yep.
I was crying for that. Like, and my mother tells the story. I went into my kindergarten class and I made everybody bring in $1 the next day so we could donate it, toward We Are the World or whatever. So like,
did you shake everybody down? Like,
yeah. No, at that point, I probably became like a maniac like around second grade or so. I think that I was too young to know what was going on, but once I got older and kind of knew what was going on, and then I also used to feel like a wimp, that I didn't stand up for myself, or like
like you let it happen to you.
Yeah, that I let it happen, or I don't know if you know anything about like the Hispanic culture or whatever.
I'm
but
married
like,
to a Cuban.
Yeah, they're like the biggest homophobes on the planet,
Jamaicans are pretty high up there too.
So like, I mean, I'm half Hispanic. My father's from Panama.
Okay.
And like to tell him, I would have assumed that then he'd think I was gay, and like things like that. So it was like a struggle, to come out and tell. Then I also felt like, man, I could beat all these other kids up, but I can't. I'm here and I can't help myself. Like, I can't help myself. And like I said, the second memory, I wouldn't, quite honestly, I wouldn't change anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like how people would say I'd go back and, like, obviously it was torture and things like that, but it made me, who I am today. Because so like to go back and change it, my whole life could change.
But that's a sign of like very good self-esteem too. Is that
I have terrible self-esteem.
Yeah,
like,
but you know what?
I've always had.
But think about this: like if you had the opportunity to go back and change these horrible things that happened, and you still wouldn't, that means you like who you are and where you are today.
Now. Like, yeah,
now.
But for
that's
40 years, for
well, yeah, I mean, in the past, maybe
38 years, I actually absolutely hated myself. Like that, even though like. Still to this day, I struggle taking a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
So like when people compliment me, I'm like, all right, stop. Like,
you have a great beard, by the way.
And I just don't. I hate compliments. I don't know. I just always, like, even when I was younger, dude, I would look in the mirror and I wanted to actually physically rip my fucking skin off. Like, that's how much I hated myself. Just over this shit going on and me struggling with this stuff.
Now, how did this manifest within work, like with police?
Well, occasionally you'll wind up going to a call where, a girl or a boy getting touched by their uncle or whatever. Like we deal with these type of cases. So, I had all that other trauma from, seeing people beheaded in a car accident, friend dying, like I said, that baby that died, her parents were on heroin and wound up rolling over, like getting high, rolling over on top of her and suffocating her in between the couch. And then I just remember like the baby, picking up the baby and it just being like a doll, like dead. And it's just things like that were in my mind. But then when those are things that didn't happen to me. So like it bothered me. Yeah, of course, but your day goes on. But then when you deal with a certain situation that personally affected you or something that you've been hiding for like the longest time, then you're like, I almost felt like, oh shit, everybody knows like this. Like nobody knew anything. But like I started to feel like, oh shit, these guys I work with now, they know. Like I got so upset at this job, and now they know. And nobody knew anything. They, it's just like. Then it turned into nightmares and just remembering exactly like some of the stuff that I buried like came back to life in vivid dreams, and then it just progressed and got worse and worse. I started drinking a lot more, and it just snowballed. And then like I told you, I didn't want to be a cop anymore.
So when did you make the call to call it quits?
Well, I just retired May 1st of 2019. Yeah, it's only been a few months.
Okay.
So
what's it like now that you're done? I know
there's nothing. I tell everybody this, that there's nothing better on earth than not being a cop anymore. Nothing.
So
it's almost like I did a bit about it. Like it's like getting released from prison, like from like walking out of Rawway and them saying like, all right, man, you served your 20 and go ahead, have a nice day. Take off.
Like Clooney walking out of prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it like as far as like, family, like family life? I know you have, like you said, you have 3 kids. Like how are you still holding everything together? Like
I like to say that I was a functional basket case for like the longest time because I was still getting promoted. I retired a captain. So, I got promoted to sergeant, lieutenant, captain. These are, I worked for a civil service town, so you had to take a test. It wasn't like they just tell you, hey, tomorrow you're a sergeant, or, I know a lot of towns are like political and stuff like that, but, I was studying, I was getting promoted, I was doing all these great things at work. I was officer of the year, like 2008 of my department. And I was essentially a functional basket case, and work was the only place that I could kind of escape from my own head. So when I went to work, I have such OCD that I have to do a perfect job on every single thing I do, But then when I'm out of work, I'm like, shit, what do I do with myself? Because at the time I had no hobbies. My hobbies have always been my kids. Like even though I was struggling mentally all this time, I don't think like my relationship with my kids suffered. I went to every single game, like, because quite honestly, for me, even like when I was really bad, like suffering with depression and stuff like that, and I'd want to lay in bed for 20 hours a day, if one of my kids had a game, I'm getting up to go, because the guilt of missing the game would be far worse than picking my ass up out of bed and going to see the game.
Isn't it amazing though how you could be feeling like absolute dog shit, and just to see a kid, like your own kid, like you see their smile, they just want to play with you. They genuinely want to be around you. Isn't that amazing how much that can change like your mood? It can make everything else in your head seem smaller and less important.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great escape.
Yeah, the kids are an escape sometimes. That's a beautiful thing.
Some people though, it goes the opposite way too for a lot of people, where they just neglect everything, in life.
Yeah.
But personally with me, it's like I said, the guilt would have been far more than just dragging my ass out of bed.
Yeah, but let's be honest, not everybody's cut out to be a parent. And you could tell when you see a good parent, someone who genuinely gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like those they're very easy to spot. And it's also really easy to spot the ones who don't.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like a lot of maybe our parents' generation was a little more like that. Like they were a little more career-oriented. And it was like, all right, the kids will be fine. They can handle themselves.
I was a latchkey kid too. But
exactly.
But my parents also had to work in order to, nowadays is some parents are able to stay at home or whatever, but we kind of struggled growing up. So both my parents needed to work. I would walk home with my brother as a kid, as young as like 9-10 years old. I'd be going home. My mother would get home like 2 hours late. Like we'd get out at, let's say, 3:00. She'd be home at 5:00. But for the meantime, we entertained ourselves at home.
Yeah. I think it was around the same age, like 3rd, 4th grade, when I would just go home and we would be me and my sister alone after school. Like, I
Yeah,
think
and
that was-
my brother's actually 3 years younger than me, so it's like, you're 10, you and this 7-year-old,
just
walk
keep
through
him
the
alive
streets
till we
of,
get back.
walk the streets of Jersey City and get home safely. you
Oh
know?
yeah, it's real different than the suburbs of Central Jersey. So, all right, now you're retired, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a big leap now to go from police to stand-up comic. What the fuck? Like, how did you come up with that one?
Well, I wouldn't call myself I'm sure some comedians that might listen to this will get angry and be like, well, if you're going to open mics and you're getting on stage, you're a comedian. But like I told you, I'm bad with compliments. I'm bad with like accepting myself. But I always loved comedy, and I like the I don't know if you've ever seen it. Martin Lawrence, "You So Crazy,"
Of course.
is my favorite. I know it like every word, line by line. I snuck to watch it when I was younger. I was probably like 12 or 13. I watch it 8 million times. I like more.
I like Run Tell That a little bit.
Oh yeah,
The whole drunk husband
Yeah.
bit. That's my favorite.
I'm more of like an urban comedy kind of guy as opposed to like that nerdy woke kind of comedy. It doesn't get me. It's more new age.
Yeah.
But like it
that
doesn't
wasn't
get me.
when we were kids. That wasn't
Yeah.
a thing back then.
So then I was just always into comedy, like Martin Lawrence, D.L. Hughley, Dave Chappelle later on, and I understood like kind of like the format of how comedy's supposed to work, and then I had an idea for like a bit, and I was like, hey, I want to try this out, and I would go to comedy shows and stuff like that. And I was like, I want to try this out, but I really didn't have the courage to do it. And it wasn't a matter of being comfortable like speaking, publicly speaking, because I did a ton of public speaking at work. So I wasn't afraid to get up there. It's when that was like a one-way conversation. When I did public speaking at work and information sharing, it's like, you're getting up there, you want to listen. If you don't, I don't care. I'm getting
don't
paid
have to be
anyway.
entertaining.
Yeah. And then when you're trying to garner a reaction and like, you're like, here, I'll give you something. Will you laugh and make me feel good or whatever? It's totally different.
Yeah, it's actually a give and take in that sense.
So I used to go to open mics, and
What was the first one?
I went to the first one in the city, and February 4th will be 1 year since I went.
Nice.
So before that, though, before February, I used to go to open mics. I used to write down a fake name, and then I used to sit there, and I knew like, hey, I'm number 10. Once they get to like number 8, I'll just get up and run out. Or if I wanted to see, or if I was having a good time, or like people were actually funny, then I'd stick around and they'd call out the other name. I wouldn't look, or I'd look around, and then they'd be like, I guess the person left, and move on to the next one. And so I chickened out so many times, like, to go up. And
I know that feeling too, man. I know that fucking feeling.
What I did is, I didn't know there was open mics in New Jersey. Like, that's how dumb I was. So I would Google like open mics in New York City. So I would take the train and go hang out in the city and hit open mics and listen. And so I said, here's what I got to do. I got to sign up for I signed up for an open mic, the one where you got to pay in advance. I put it on my story, and then I told my brother that he had to come with me, because then I knew, hey, people they're going to see it on my story. They're going to be like, hey, what happened the other night when you went to the open mic? So now I put myself box myself into a corner.
Yeah, you put a little pressure on yourself.
And then I brought my brother along, because if anybody's going to tell me the truth, he's going to tell me the truth. He's not going to mix words and be like, well, you were all right or whatever. If I sucked, he'd be like, bro, you fucking suck. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that again. So he came along with me. I had 7 minutes to go up there, and like
They give you 7 minutes for
yeah,
an open mic spot?
yeah, the one. Well, some are 5, 7. It depends on like how many
7
people.
seems long, right?
Yeah. I went up there. I had this whole thing prepared. I was like studying it, reading it. It was like all typed out on my phone. I went up there. I forgot everything I was going to say, and I literally went deaf. So I started speaking into the mic. I had 7 minutes. I did this whole rambling thing for like 3 minutes, and I got the hell off the stage. And then when I got back to my seat, I go to my brother. I was like, dude, let's get the fuck out of here. I go, I'm never doing this again. I go, this is fucking horrible. He goes, what are you talking about, man? He goes, you're actually pretty funny. He goes, but you got to slow down. And he goes, I barely understood what what you were saying. I go, nobody laughed. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, a few people were laughing. He goes, you got to work on it, man. And I go, I couldn't hear anything. So I was talking, and it was like this, like as if I had my hands over my ears, and all my thoughts and my words were like trapped in my head. And then all I could see was like this place that I went had an actual stage, and like the lights pointing in your face. Thank God, because I probably would have.
Did you get the shaky leg, the shaky knee?
No, but I think like I think I felt like my face shaking, but I'm not sure. But the only thing I remember was that I was literally deaf. I didn't hear anyone laugh, and everything I said was only trapped in my head. It went from my mouth up into my into my brain.
I used to be a bass player. I played in a few bands. I remember my first time playing a show, my leg wouldn't stop shaking the whole time, and I was just trying to like headbang to make it look like I was good, and I couldn't get it to stop. And then
oh yeah, I threw up in the bathroom before that too, because this place they're like
8 Mile of
yeah. They were like hey, you're on deck or whatever, and I was like, all right, let me go take a piss real quick, and I got in the bathroom. I didn't have to take a piss. I was like, blah, and just started throwing up, and I was like, all right, I'm ready.
So now a year in, you feel a lot more comfortable up there?
Yeah, I get like what's going on. Quite honestly, comedy and like the New Jersey comedy scene has done like really well for me, or like wonders for my mental state. I know, like, if you know anything about comedy though, like basically it's a bunch of basket cases in a room trying to be funny.
Comedians
and, like,
are always like the fucked up people. You know?
Right. But it's like this like sense of community of fucked up people, you know, like where
you're not alone.
Yeah, right. And a lot of these people, they're like great artists. Yeah, I think you had Alex on here, right?
Yeah, I had Alex and Tom on here.
Yeah, he's an awesome comedian. I've seen him a couple times, but like,
shout out to Alex Nicholas, Tom Zappia.
But yeah, like it's just a work in progress. I could appreciate the art. I could appreciate, you know, other people's views of how the art should be formed and stuff like that. And it gave me a hobby. Tell you the truth, I had no hobby like that. I think that was a huge part of my problem. Was my hobby was the kids and taking them to, you know, sports and things like that. But I had nothing for myself.
Hey, you're sitting at mine right now, so I feel you, buddy.
Yeah. So I had nothing for me, and I like comedy right now is something for me. You know, I don't sacrifice my kids for it. I don't sacrifice any part of any aspect, any important aspect of my life, but. It's my hobby, only because now, like I said, I have OCD. I'm a perfectionist, and I'm like, shit, I got to make this better. And you get off, and I'm like, shit, I forgot to say this, or, and then now you're like chasing the next open mic, or, you know, looking to see when the next open mic is, so that you can try and change these words, or you know, do certain things to try and become better. And it's just like, it's forever changing the.
Well, that's one of the beautiful parts of like a creative outlet like that is, at the same time you're creating something, it's like you're discovering parts of yourself. It allows you to put yourself outside your body, almost like this is something that represents me, and you learn so much about yourself in the process by doing that, because you're putting it out there, and it's no longer, you know, something inside subconscious. It's like, oh shit, I didn't like that. You know, it's like it reveals your thought process, and you could pick apart little things. And I mean, shit, I learned a lot about myself doing this. Like,
yeah, like growing up, I used to like to write. I love to write. Like writing's my thing. You put a math problem here, I won't be able to friggin' do a thing. Yeah. But you ask me to write something, like you write really well too. So like writing is my thing.
Oh, you telling me?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man.
So you write really well, and like I'd love to write even growing up, but like I don't know, it was different when I don't even know if it was different, but like I always thought if my friends found out that I wrote a poem or I did creative writing, that they were gonna call me gay or, you know, whatever. And then you add getting molested on top of it. Like, I'm not telling anybody I wrote a fucking poem, or I like to write short stories and shit like that. So instead I beat people up instead. But
I was lucky enough to be like a little more nerdier guy. You know, I'm a short guy. I'm not big. I was never like a tough guy or anything. So it was kind of a little more acceptable for me to be into writing and like words and music and shit like that.
Well,
you know?
My thing, I really enjoyed it, but like I probably should have kept that up as a hobby all that time, and
It's still in there, man.
done something else.
It
Yeah, I
didn't-
know
it
that,
didn't
but
go
I'm
nowhere.
talking about like,
Developed it more like throughout your life.
yeah, or like just that period of time where I was really struggling.
Gotcha.
Like I should have found something else to do. Like I said, I was seriously struggling.
So I'm going to ask you this. So we're still on the comedy thing. I'm going to start asking when I have like more comedians and stuff in here. Do you remember the first stand-up you ever saw? Like when you first became aware of stand-up, like as a kid? Like I remember when I was a kid, we were on a trip. We were on a drive to Florida, like the family. We're in a big friggin' conversion van, and my dad put on Robin Williams' "A Night at the Met," the cassette tape. And I knew Robin Williams. Like I remember like Aladdin and shit like that. And I was like, he's just talking the whole time. And I remember laughing. He's doing all the voices and all this stuff. And I didn't even get half the references because I was still a little kid. But that was my first time being aware of like, oh shit, like this is something you could do, and I could just sit here and listen to this. This is awesome. Like, do you remember what that was for you?
My parents had a cassette, and it wasn't even like the store-bought cassette. It was like they must have recorded it off of someone else's cassette because it was just a regular cassette. And I can't remember if it's Raw or Delirious, but it's the one with the ice cream man.
That's Delirious.
That's Delirious. So I found that, yeah.
Don't have somebody. I could do the whole like
I got
the
some
cookout
ice
scene.
cream, yeah.
I do. Me and my buddies do it all the time. You know what it
Giddy
is?
goo goo, right?
You know what it is? It's a motherfucking ridiculous, Gus. Because every motherfucking year you come here, you burn down my motherfucking backyard. Why? You take shit too far, Gus.
Yeah. Well, I found that tape and I put it on, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And with the Ralph Cramden bit is in that one too.
Norton.
Yeah. Hey, Norton. So like I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, they made a tape of somebody just cursing and trying to be funny. And every once in a while, like when my parents weren't home or whatever, I'd put it on and listen to it. But I couldn't get a visual off it. It was just something to actually listen to. But the Martin special was the one that, like, it was visual for me. Like I saw everything that he was doing, and then I got the references. At the time, I was probably 12 or like probably 7th or 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm getting a lot of the references and things like that. And I understood it more, and I understood like the mannerisms and things that go along with it. And like I said, I could recite that thing like, top to bottom. But the first time I heard comedy was Delirious off just a regular cassette tape. And
That's a classic all time. That one right there. I think that one affected a lot of people too, especially from our generation.
Yeah,
because we were just young and impressionable kids.
Well, my mother has a story. When she was a kid, they got a Richard Pryor album, like a record, and they
some of those album titles from his we can't say on the podcast.
I don't know which one it was, but my mother was a child of the 60s kind of, so probably 60s, early 70s, and she had a story where they wound up she's got 3 siblings, so they wound up getting the record, putting it on, and a neighbor, I guess they were blasting it, so a neighbor wound up telling her mother or my grandmother that Betty, I heard somebody in there cursing the whole time. They wound up getting in trouble for listening to this album. So
I remember my dad watching Robin Harris on TV.
Oh yeah,
and all I remember was like the Bebe's Kids routine. Yeah. And as a kid, I'm like, all right, I can recite that and just walk around going, "We Bebe's Kids." But I'm a huge fan of stand up too. I don't think I would ever do something like that, but I appreciate it.
Yeah,
like I really. I've watched a lot of stand-up over the course of my life.
I watch a different special every night, like to go to sleep. So 10, 11 o'clock at night, it's like ice cream and stand-up time. And then I watch, even if I never heard of the person, I'll just flip through it. And I may not like the stuff that they're saying, but like I said, I appreciate the art, and I see like
homework almost for you.
I see like, hey, where you going with this? Then I started getting into old stuff, like I was into Freddie Prinze for a while. Like, he was really young when he wound up committing suicide too.
Mm-hmm.
But like I started listening to Red Fox and like just putting on YouTube and watching old stuff.
Got to wash your ass.
Yeah. So like the whole art form, I love the whole art form, but like we talked about earlier, it kind of comes from a dark place for a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, especially like if you listen to any like the big podcasts, like a lot of the guys from West Coast, like Comedy Store dudes, like Joey Diaz, Theo Vaughn.
He's from North Bergen.
Yeah, exactly. I just went to see him at the Stress Factory. Let me tell you something, cocksucker. But yeah, it's always like that comedy is like the defense mechanism for all the dark parts.
It's also, you derive an insane fucking high from it, man. When you do well, I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So like, I've gone up there and bombed and you feel like shit, but I also know, I think because maybe I'm older, like I can understand, hey, that just didn't work. Like I might feel like shit about it. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do something better. But I've seen like some younger people take it really hard, like when they bomb. But I've done really well. Like the first time I got booked on a show, in the summer, I got booked on a show in Jersey City, and shout out to my man Irv for putting together that show. He does a lot of comedy shows in Jersey City, but I brought like 20 people. We packed the place. It was that bar PJ Ryan's in the square. I think it closed now, but
Journal Square, right?
Journal Square, the Journal Square one. Yeah. So I got up on stage. I did 5 minutes, and I brought 20 people. There was 30 people in the room. My whole family was like laughing and stuff like that. And I could have floated out of the place, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Like where I was like, shit, I got to get back up there. So I could see how it's like addicting and like
it's like winning at a casino.
Yeah,
you can't
pretty much.
Stop. Even if you're losing, you remember what it's like to win. It feels so amazing.
Yeah, for me, bombing's not that bad. Like, yeah, I came up with a shitty idea. It didn't work. Let me try it again or whatever. I just started getting into like seeing, just recently I came up with a bit about my son, my 14-year-old son, and he just recently got a girlfriend, so
congratulations.
He dumped me, so my bit is all about how I'm going through a breakup, and then I wound up saying, hey, my 14-year-old son broke up with me for a girl, all that stuff. I tried the joke totally different.
That's a great setup.
Yeah, I lead them down a road of like, I'm going to give away the joke. But
well, yeah, no, don't ruin it. But it's a good premise.
Yeah. So, but the first time I told the joke, I said, I'm feeling kind of down, and I actually felt bad after saying it, but I was like, I lost my son or whatever, and some lady goes, oh my God, is that true? And then as I didn't want to, I wanted to sell you down that road, and then, but the road works better with the breakup. But I just started seeing like how you change a couple things, and there's growth to it. Where before I would get up, and if I sucked, and then I'd be like, I don't know why I sucked, man. Maybe it was the people,
Yeah.
But now I'm like, maybe I was a little too harsh. I got to do this, and like it becomes almost like a puzzle to see what people like. But 11 months in, almost a year in, is when I'm just starting to figure that out. Where I went the last 10 months before that with just throwing shit at the wall and seeing who laughs at it, and then a lot of times I never recorded it, or I'd be like, shit, I forgot what I said. I got off there and I'd be like, yeah, they laughed at that part, but I can't remember now what it is.
I'd
ask someone, I'd be like, dude, that one part, when everybody laughed, what did I say?
So, all right, we're past an hour now, but I don't want to get out of here. I want to talk. You started a nonprofit. Like I think this is a good thing to end on. Tell us about what that is. What's the goal with that?
All right. One of my very good friends, Alex Vasquez, he was a sergeant with the North Bergen Police Department. 2 years ago, he in October of 2017, October 23rd, he was suffering with like we said, suffering in silence, and he wound up taking his own life. So he left behind some children, and he was a great guy, great cop, like a hero. I don't know if you remember. Remember there was a lady. It might have been somewhere down here. He was on loan to, I think, the FBI at the time, or one of these major agencies. A guy broke into her house and beat her up, and the whole thing was caught on the cam. Like he.
How long ago are we talking?
Probably 5-6 years ago, something like that.
Vaguely.
Yeah, she had like a house camera that captured the whole thing. A guy broke in.
Oh, and I remember. I think I remember this now.
Really beat her like within an inch of her life. Or he wound up working on that case and wound up catching the guy and arresting the guy. And really good guy, like district champion wrestler for North Bergen. He was a big martial arts guy, and like I said, he was struggling. He took his own life. and it was pretty upsetting to, obviously upsetting to everyone. And a lot of times when cops or anybody commits suicide, they leave, almost nothing or not enough. It's certainly not enough to last a lifetime. He's got a daughter that's in 8th grade and younger sons. So whatever he had or whatever they had is not going to last a lifetime. So my idea, since like I said too, like I struggled at times too, was we started a nonprofit. It's called 1013 Survivors, and underneath on the rocker is called Diamond in the Rough. I actually wanted Diamond in the Rough to be the actual name, but it was taken already in New Jersey. So what we're doing is we're building a registry of all the surviving children under the age of 18 for New Jersey cops that have committed suicide. And what we're going to try and do is, build the funds necessary to take care of, let's say, sports registrations for them, back to school items. Later on, hopefully I want to like grow and expand and have the dream is to have $1 million in the bank account,
definitely.
But like get these kids their first car, not a brand new car, but let's say another cop wanted to get rid of a car, doing almost like the Cars for Kids type of deal. Get like a mechanic to work on it, and give these kids a car, give away college scholarships, things like that.
It doesn't necessarily have to be like monetary, like it could be a thing. Like you get to know who the kids are that are involved with this, so you could kind of get something special just for them.
Yeah, just let
like
them,
a dollar amount.
Right, let them know that they're not forgotten. A lot of times when we come out, like you come out in droves, like when a cop gets killed, and you saw, last month in Jersey City, there's tens of thousands of cops there. And unfortunately, 6 months from now, like all that goes away. Like not fanfare, it's a bad word, but
the
like
attention.
It goes away. And like, then 2 years down the road, they're alone. Like they're almost forgotten. You'll remember them on the anniversary date or if something else comes up. But like for a majority of the time, these wives and children, husbands, if it's a female officer, they're like kind of forgotten about. So I want to make sure that those kids aren't forgotten about, because I don't think it's a thing that's going to end. Like I told, like we discussed about like the attorney general putting in these new parameters to try and help cops and have them ask for help and trying to make it seem like it's not bad to ask for help and that they're going to stand behind them. I think some people reach a point that it doesn't matter how much help is there for them. They're still going to, quite honestly, they're still going to do it. It's not like they're going to eliminate police suicide. So if it, unfortunately happens, then, I want us to be in place to wind up taking care of these kids.
I know you're a little removed from the job at this point, but do you feel like that, maybe the culture's starting to shift a little bit within that? Like maybe some, officers are a little more comfortable or at least feel like it's more of an option for them to come forward with those kind of issues? Or do you think we still have a long way to go?
Yeah. Well, a bad thing that I think is like now, any new hires, I think since 2012, I think it is, these kids have to do 30 years before they could retire. So they're doing more years for less percentage in their pension. So that's 30 more years of mental 30 years of mental anguish when you could have checked out at 20 or 25. They took those away. So now the younger guys have to do 30 years. That I wanted to leave at 13, So imagine if you have more than double, still left. And I just don't think you can do all you want, but I think there has to be shorter stints, almost like, like a military enlistment. Yeah. I think policing should work like that. Tell you the truth, where like you're like, hey, I'll sign up for 5 years or whatever. If I don't like it, I'll leave. And even if it's a small pension for doing 5 years, if they told you, hey, we'll give you $600 a month for the rest of your life or whatever. As opposed to staying 25, now 30 years for going through that for 30 years is rough.
And that's tough too, because in the position to be law enforcement, if you're not, mentally together, there's a lot of other people that could stand to be affected by that as well.
Oh yeah.
So it's.
I mean, we have the highest divorce rates, highest alcoholism rates, things like that. Because it's just, quite honestly, it's things that you're not supposed to see, you know, and you're getting a front row seat to it every single day. Like, so you might, like, there are people that they go on these, was that website when we were younger, like Faces of Death, or like people watch crazy stuff like that. I can't even watch the news anymore.
Rotten.com.
I don't watch
places.
I don't watch the news. So even when News 12, anything comes on, I change the channel because I lived all that stuff. I mean, unless something asteroids coming for my house or whatever, I don't need to hear all the bad shit that's happening out in the world because I already lived through it. I forgot how I got to that point.
No, honestly, dude, my hat's off to you, man. I respect you a lot for being able to talk so openly and honestly about some of this stuff. Because, like I said, this is not an easy topic for a lot of guys, in your position, especially coming from law enforcement. These are touchy subjects, and it's hard. It's hard for, especially me as a civilian, never having been in those shoes, to be asking you some of these questions. It's something that I think a lot of people don't think about, but it really makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like when you said, once your friends learned a little more about what happened to you in your life, it clicked. It's like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, now I get it.
I think a lot of people need to hear this, and it'll affect their perception of how they view, especially police. So
yeah, I mean, if anybody's struggling, they could reach out to me. I got
make sure you plug whatever.
Tons of doctors, that the therapists that I worked with, psychiatrists that I worked with. The state PBA has a psychiatrist totally dedicated to all 33,000 officers in the state of New Jersey. But I mean, I never told anybody this story, but in 2016, I went to Scotland for it was like an exchange program. So I went with 20 cops from New Jersey, like high-ranking cops from all over the state of New Jersey. We got the opportunity to go and live in Scotland for 10 days and work with police. It's called Police Scotland there. They police the whole entire country. So in Scotland, there's no guns. There's no guns whatsoever. Even there's a unit of police that have guns, but they respond like firemen. So the people in Scotland don't even want to see the cops with guns because then they feel like it's becoming militarized. Or when we were there, right before we got there, there were some officers in that armed unit that wound up going to like a deli or something like that and had their weapons on them, and they wound up being in a newspaper like, look at these cops in the deli with guns, and like that's how much they hate guns there. So like policing is totally different there. You got to use verbal judo, and I mean, but they don't go through the feeling like, hey, at any point I could get shot and killed.
Yeah.
They might get stabbed, but like with a knife or something, like you feel like, hey, I think I could have a shot at least to defend myself, where you're not knocking down a bullet or things like that. So like they go about policing totally different. But we had a portion of the training where there was a guy from Police Scotland who suffered from mental illness. He went somewhere to kill himself. I can't remember if he went to a bridge to jump off, and they wound up pulling the guy back. Now, at the time that I went there, I was seriously struggling. This is three and a half years ago, and I wanted to talk to the guy so bad. Like, in Scotland, nothing happened to this guy. Like, they got him the help he needed because they don't carry guns anyway. So like, we're here, everything is take the gun, he's going to kill somebody, he's going to kill himself. And they always make you feel like a potential criminal, let's say, only because you may not be thinking, bomb. You're not thinking any of that, but you're just majorly struggling inside, but it doesn't mean you're going to go and take your service weapon and start killing everyone. So this guy, like, the way they handled it was totally different than here, but that's only because they don't have guns. So they got the guy the help he needed. He still stayed, he remained a cop because there's no gun, like there's no threat, and he got all the help he needed. And I wanted to talk to that guy like so bad and just be like, hey, what are you struggling with? Because I'm struggling. But I was like, I'm going to come to Scotland, and then I'm going to tell some guy that I'm struggling. They're going to call New Jersey, and they're going to be like, go to this guy's house and take all his friggin' guns. Yeah. So, like, I kind of stayed quiet, but, like, that's what I'm talking about, like suffering in silence. Like the guy was talking, and I everything he said like resonated with me, and I was like, man, this is me. I need to talk to this guy, and I just let it go. At the end, they were like, hey, anybody have any questions or whatever? I'm like, I'm not asking this fucking guy anything. And then that was it. Obviously I never saw the guy again. He just did his presentation about how they handle mental illness or like struggles within their police department. And there's guys like sitting around, or there might be people that listen to this. Like I'm obviously going to promote this pretty big with all my cop friends and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like they might be sitting there and they're like, yeah, shit, I'm struggling just like that. But like, call me or, text me, DM me. Like, I got a ton of resources that everyone can use to, get better. And it's people that are not going to call you, pick up the phone and call your police department. It's my therapist is actually a retired cop. So, yeah. So like
a lot of insight,
yeah,
that a normal therapist wouldn't have.
So, he's able to get it. Like, you don't have to go through the extra explanation of, you could talk the cop jargon to him and don't have to explain it, go into depth and explain, oh, well, this means this in police work. And that, you just go to his office, speak freely, and the guy will help you. And he's never going to pick up the phone and call your department or anything.
That's, like we talked about before, just hearing someone talk openly about that kind of stuff. And if maybe you're listening and you're going through the same thing, hearing somebody else say what you're feeling, like exactly what happened to you in Scotland, it goes such a long way, especially just knowing you're not alone and feeling that way.
Yeah.
So like I said, dude, my hat is off to you.
Thanks,
I didn't need
brother.
a salute there. That was I don't know what that was, but listen, plug. Like, where can people find you? Like, where can they find the nonprofit? Let's get it all
the
on
nonprofit
there.
We just launched yesterday, actually. So I just went on Instagram, Facebook. It's called 1013 Survivors Inc. Inc. Incorporated. You can find that on Instagram and Facebook. Mm-hmm. And then I have my my comedy Instagram page, which is Arrested Development Comedy.
Great name.
Yeah, I tried to figure, get the cop angle. Development is me trying to actually become a comedian, So Arrested Development worked out well.
So guys, make sure you go follow Artie. Make sure you support that nonprofit. We're gonna, whatever kind of donations we can make, we're gonna try to get
everything's
involved.
It's a 501c3, so everything's tax deductible.
Legit.
Yeah.
All right.
So everything's
good
legit.
Good to know.
All
it's
registered.
Legit. There's nobody getting like an envelope out the back door or anything.
Not anymore, man. Those days are over.
Yeah. But again, brother, thank you so much for coming
Thanks
here.
for
Thanks
having
for
me,
talking, man.
I love what you're doing with this whole podcast, man.
Thank you, man. If I get nice guys, like good guys like you in here, that's what this is all about.
Excellent, man.
So again, do me a favor, hold that book up. Make sure you guys go purchase Modern Manhood. We're in there. Cleo Stiller's doing a great job. She's on her book tour about that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's good. It's basically a book about exactly what this podcast is.
All right,
so
awesome.
It's all interviews with real guys, and it's a lot of in the post Me Too world. It's all like the gray areas that people find themselves in. But make sure you go get the book, Modern Manhood. Again, thanks for listening to the show. You know where to find us, APodAmongstMen@gmail.com. With any comments or questions, we will be happy to get back to you ASAP. Also, we're on Instagram @APodAmongstMen and Twitter. We're there, but not really there. And
I don't even know how to use Twitter. Tell you the truth, I can't figure it out.
I have it. I just don't use it. So don't even bother with the Twitter. But you already listened to the show. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, all that stuff. And now we're on YouTube as you're watching or listening right now. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and make sure you rate on any of the other podcast platforms. But until next week, thanks for tuning in, guys. Artie, again, thanks for coming by, brother.
Thank you very much for having me, man.
Of course, my pleasure. And we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.